I love zombies, and I also love speedrunning. Call of Duty zombie speedruns have been increasingly popular in the last year, with new world records being set constantly. Most of the popular speedruns are Easter egg speedruns, and to be honest, I was and still am really bad at Easter eggs. But I still wanted to get in on the action in some way. Thankfully, there are other types of speedruns across the zombies games. These are just some of the weirdest speedruns in zombies. In a previous video, I tried to touch water as fast as possible in every zombies map from World at War to Black Ops 3. Those speedruns were already a bit weird on their own, but it gave me the idea to explore other unique ways of speedrunning maps from the zombies game mode. I went over to speedrun.com and checked out some of the official speedruns. Of course, you have your Easter egg speedruns and even your round-based speedruns. I'm sure the cool kids are having a great party over there, but my aspirations and hyperfixations lay elsewhere. Introducing door percent. Did you catch it? That was it, and it was still only the third place run on the leaderboards. Before we take a look at the world record run, let's take a step back and figure out what is happening. The first run in this category, according to speedrun.com, was by Brunsy, who completed the first ever door percent run in 5 seconds. It wasn't super optimized, but it was something to have on the leaderboards. Thankfully, it's slow enough to where we can start to understand a little more about what's happening. The goal of the speedrun is to activate the Easter egg song by shooting the radio in the next room over as quickly as possible. Normally, you'd have to open the door to gain access to the radio, but in this specific category, you have to shoot at it through the door, which I didn't even know was possible until I found out about this speedrun. You'll know that you hit the radio when you hear the static sound effect followed by the music thereafter. On the surface, it seems simple. Just line up the shot at a certain spot from a certain angle and pull the trigger, right? Then tell me why I spent more than 4 days trying to get a run. I started off by trying to see if I could actually hit the radio. This wasn't all that difficult. It took a few attempts, but I eventually managed to do so. Now, it was time to do it fast. My first mistake was trying to find a setup that would hit the radio every time. I started off by lining up against the farthest corner of the door and shooting until I heard the static. Shooting from the hip would save some time at the cost of accuracy, which was my second mistake. I spent many hours attempting it like this before I discovered just how insane the spread is on the gun from this distance. I knew that there would be a difference in accuracy and precision, but I had no idea it was this bad. I mean, just look at this. I fired about half of my ammo before a single bullet hit the radio. This happened many times. It was absurd how far the bullets could fly away from the intended target. I did a test from the other side of the door. Only 11 out of 40 bullets hit the radio. That's with no door in the way and the crosshair dead on it. I continued to do runs, resetting over and over again until I felt like I had a good run. I was aiming for a top spot, so this was no easy task. A 330. This was far from where I wanted to be, but it was a first run that was at least somewhere on the leaderboard. This time would place me at 9th in the world, just shy off 8th place by a few milliseconds. I couldn't leave it at that, so I did more runs, until I got this, a 296. Which would now place me 8th on the leaderboard, beating out IDK God. I was moving on up, and had my sights set on 7th and beyond, until I saw the next run to beat, a 178 by Ledfo. A really good lineup, yet it was still only 7th place. I kept trying for a couple more hours, first getting a 293, and then with one of the worst lineups yet, I managed to scrub off a few milliseconds and get a 290. Not anywhere near 7th place, but an improvement nonetheless. Sorry to disappoint, but that's where my placement stands. I tried for a couple more hours, but this speedrun was driving me insane with how inconsistent it was. There was such a large gap between 7th and 8th, you'd think that there was some crazy trick you had to pull off, but no. Just skill and some luck, I think. I want to move on to other speedruns, as this one already took me a few days for only a few milliseconds of improvement, and frankly, it was getting really boring just shooting at a door for hours on end. With my attempts out of the way, here's the current world record set by Desmond. 0.7 seconds, less than a second. They make it look so easy, but I assure you, it's harder than it seems. I encourage you to take a crack at it and add some more names to the rankings. I might try it again in the future, but for now, let's take a look at another Weird World at War speedrun. This time, a speedrun category that has only recently emerged. Peter %. No, not that Peter. This Peter. Here's what the run looks like. The goal of the speedrun is to get Peter's erect and hanging body to kill you as fast as possible. I'm actually surprised this is even a speedrun category. The first run submitted for Peter % was a time of 2 seconds and 68 milliseconds by Cognac. They then got a 2:45 to further improve the world record. The speedrun category is young, and the Peter meta is still currently developing. I just had to try my luck at a Peter % run. This is what happened. I never really interacted with Peter much before, but soon I would be very acquainted with him. First thing I had to do was throw a grenade or two below him to get his body to start thrashing about. As soon as this happens, I have to restart the match. The physics will carry over into the new round, and all I had to do was run into the body as it swings, which deals a massive amount of damage and instantly downs me. It took a few tries, but eventually I got this run. Wasn't anything crazy, but now I knew I could do it. Emboldened, I went for more runs. I knew I could at least get close to the world record. A slightly faster 5-second run. I could do better. I spent another hour just throwing grenades in random places and hoping the body would swing in just the perfect way. After a while, I finally got a decent run. A 276. It was significantly cleaner than the previous runs I did, but I still wasn't satisfied. World record was only a few milliseconds away. I could practically taste it. I needed more. And a whole day later, I would get this run. A 243, beating out the record by a small fraction of a second. Finally, a world record of my own. I just had to submit it to the leaderboards and... wait, what? Obsolete? While I was working on this script and gathering footage, Cognac came back and destroyed this run before I could even submit mine. The Peter % category had drastically changed in just a few days. They start off in no clip, which is already something I did not expect. I was under the impression that console commands of any kind weren't allowed, but I see why it would make sense to allow them here since you have to restart the match anyway, and no clip gets disabled upon reloading. It also makes this next step 100 times easier. Using no clip, they push the body up against the wooden wall here. They hold it there for a bit, and after a while, it falls into the barrels down below. Waiting a few seconds before restarting the match, they load into the map and run straight into Peter as he Gmod props around. I'm not even going to try to explain what is happening here because I still don't really know, but it just works. This setup was a lot more hands-on than the previous one, and the glitch itself seemed difficult to pull off. Cognac refers to this new world record as the perfect Peter %. I don't want to look like a jerk here, but... once again claiming the world record. But I wasn't done yet. And with my final time of 1:30, that is where the current world record stands, at least at the time of recording. Completing these runs also gave me a bit more of an understanding on how this run might work. So some weird interaction occurs before and during the initial fall of the body. I believe that whenever Peter flips into himself, the rope gets tied up somehow and puts him in this weird state. Then having it land or pushing it into the barrels here in a certain position with the head pointing away from the rope will finish the setup. The last step is waiting for the body to activate its physics. You'll know when it does this because Peter will either do this cute little hop or will slightly twitch. I find that the twitch is much more consistent in activating the glitch. Once you notice the hop or the twitch, you have to quickly restart the match. Upon loading in, the body will be near its original spot and thrashing around the place, allowing you to simply walk up and have it hit you. If there's any Peter % experts out there, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. This was definitely one of the weirdest speedruns I have ever ran, but I loved every second of it, especially that 1 second where I got the world record. I continued to experiment with his body and found some other weird glitches that can occur, which made me fairly confident that something new will be discovered soon and my time will be beaten.
Damn!
And it was. Once again, by Cognac. This guy is crazy because I haven't even made my runs public and he keeps beating them anyway. This time, while I was editing this video, Cognac came back with a new strategy and destroyed the record once again. Down to 333 milliseconds, just 20 frames. Their run doesn't show the setup, but I think I can figure it out. Peter's body still needs to be dropped. He then must be pushed down to the first floor underneath spawn. It can be a little annoying since his physics isn't always active, but it's possible. And don't worry about the debris on the stairs, he'll just clip right through. Once he's there, he must be lined up like this. I'm not sure if he has to be set up like that, but it seems to work the best when he's like this. Then, all I have to do is wait for that hop or twitch, reset, and I just got world record again. 233 milliseconds. I know it's hard to tell, so let's count the frames. The timer starts as soon as the player fades in. It might be hard to see that first frame because of the fade in, but it's there. We can start counting from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Don't worry, we're almost there. 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Timer ends on the first frame of damage from Peter. That's 5 frames faster than the world record. It's a pretty fast run, but it definitely has the possibility of being beaten. But it might be tough. Huge shout out to Cognac for making this category 10 times more interesting to run than it would have been. Make sure to check out their channel and other runs they've done. I've never held a world record for any speedrun, so this felt amazing to finally accomplish. Even if it is a silly speedrun where you smash against a dead guy. As sad as it is to say, my time with Peter has come to an end. For now. It was time to see what Black Ops 1 had in store for us. Black Ops 1 doesn't have anything super weird like door percent or Peter percent, but it does have the 25k point speedrun, which is pretty self-explanatory. Get 25,000 points as quickly as possible. This is definitely the least weird speedrun you'll see, but I really wanted to get some Black Ops love in here. I figured I would try the 25k challenge on Kino, one of my favorite zombie maps. This is how it went. This speedrun takes a lot longer than the previous two, and I truly believe that I could get a decent run first try. I mean, I played hours and hours of Kino back in the day, so I wasn't too worried. I prayed for a double points or an insta-kill, almost 4 minutes in, and my prayers would be answered with a double points. I tried to capitalize as much as possible, but the pistol wasn't doing enough anymore, and I was starting to run out of ammo. So the M14 was my first buy. It was getting a little dicey, so I opened up the door as well. Also, I'm not sure if this is a Black Ops 1 on PC problem or something, but every now and then the game would not register my mouse clicks. You can see here and almost every other time I use an M14 how erratic my shooting is. I was spam clicking it, so not sure if that had something to do with it. Anyways, I grab an insta-kill here, which is pretty lucky, but it was near the end of a round, so I didn't really gain much from it. Things were not looking too good. Dog round was a little scary, but not impossible, and it guaranteed a max ammo, so that helped a lot. 6 minutes in, I was a third of the way there, and I was playing super scary. I wasn't worried though, because this is my game. I'm way more attuned to the movement and training techniques of this game than that of my contemporaries. Black Ops 1 is so Okay, let's run that back. This time, I was going to play it safe and buy quick revive. I figured this would give me another chance when I inevitably go down once again. 6 minutes in again, but this time with more points and 2 power-ups ready to be picked up. This was the one. I decided to buy the PM63. This was the farthest I made it, and I wasn't sure how I'd fare using only an M14 and a pistol the rest of the way. But I'm an idiot. So when it was time to use it, I forgot I even had it and lost my quick revive for it. I lost a lot of points, but the PM63 would make up for it eventually. And it did when I got a double points and just blasted the zombies with it. Much better than the M14 or pistol in this situation. Finishing up round 8, I was 10 minutes in and I was inching closer and closer to 25,000 points. During round 9, I picked up an insta-kill and that helped push past 20k. I'm not sure why, but at this point I was super nervous. Not sure if it was because I was excited to finally finish a run, or because I was probably going to die soon and would have wasted another 12 minutes of my life. Either way, I felt an immense rush that hit harder than the strongest drug.
And it mixed with the blood of 1,000 ancestors that coursed through my veins.
I feel so pumped watching this back, oh my god.
Oh, the rush.
I was going to need more ancestors. I decided to try it one last time, and I got on this insane pace. I was getting good spawns and great kills. I got an early insta-kill and double points. I was maximizing the amount of points I was collecting pretty well, as if things couldn't get any better. Something crazy happened. Around the 4-minute mark, as my double points was fading, I went down like a loser and took the record for worst 25k points attempt. And nobody likes me, and I got dry lips, and I'm bald, and I smell like a pencil pouch, and this was getting very frustrating. I'm not sure if you've ever had this happen to you, but sometimes I'll do something and be pretty decent at it right off the bat, but after a while, every subsequent attempt seems to get worse and worse. Then I get mad because why would that happen? That doesn't make any sense, and that just makes me even worse at it. My advice whenever that happens is take a nap. Just go and take a nap, which is exactly what I did after that last run.
Upon my return from deep slumber, 25k points I shall plunder.
And there we have it, a 12:25, which puts me perfectly into 4th place. At least I've managed to beat out one person. Sorry, dude. I was just happy to finally finish a run. At the time of recording, both Varrock and Shinonuma did not have a 25k points run submitted yet. So any run submitted would technically instantly be a world record. I had this whole thing where I was gonna show you how I got 2 world records back to back, and it was gonna be really cool. I even attempted a Varrock run. It was a horrible 14-minute run, but it would have been a world record. But then someone came by and crushed all of my dreams, and possibly many other people's dreams. And that person was Jarrett. Jarrett Segway. Jarrett currently holds almost every single 25k points world record from World at War to Cold War. They have been demolishing this category across all of the games, and someone needs to stop them. If you think you could beat this category on any of the zombie maps, then do it. I encourage you to try. If you want to see Jarrett's 25k runs, as well as many other types of zombie speedruns, I'll have their channel linked in the description. But for now, I'd like to move along and take a look at a few other weird runs from Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3. Black Ops 2, like Black Ops 1, doesn't have any particularly weird speedruns, but I wanted to include something from that game anyway. Black Ops 2 has an all buildable speedrun category, and as you could probably guess, it's a speedrun where you must build every single buildable on the map as quickly as possible. This category exists for every main Black Ops 2 Zombies map that has buildables from Transit to Origins. I was originally going to attempt this on Transit, but after watching the world record run, I quickly changed my mind. Transit has a lot of buildables and is extremely RNG based. This makes it extremely difficult to get a good run, let alone finish one, which is why Lilliman's 17-minute world record is currently the only run for the category. It's a long and complicated run, so for the sake of brevity, let me quickly explain why this run is such a headache. This run requires you to build all buildables scattered across the entire map, of which there are many. You also have to build the pack-a-punch and add all the parts to the bus. Not only are the parts scattered about, but the primary form of transportation around the map will be the lamppost teleporters, which takes you to a random location each time you use them. You will also need mystery box luck in order to get EMPs. And to top it all off, you need turbine luck, because in order to open the pack-a-punch room, the turbine needs to be on in this spot, where it can randomly stop working or be destroyed by zombies. The world record does all this and seems decently optimized. Finishing a run for me was going to be a nightmare, so that's why I opted to attempt the all buildable speedrun on Die Rise instead. There are also fewer items to build, so it seems much easier to complete. And honestly, I think this Die Rise run is far more interesting, as you'll see here in a bit. The category rules say you have to build 3 items: the trample steam, the sliquifier, and the nav table. Many of the top runs, including the world record, do not build the nav table. Once you build it, it stays built forever in every match, thus making it almost impossible to have more than one completed run. So I just didn't worry about it. There are 3 major skips in this short speedrun that took me a few hours to learn. The first one had me bringing all of the pieces down for the trample steam. If you didn't already know, in Black Ops 2 Zombies, you can only hold 1 item at a time. But you can use this glitch or trick to carry 2 items at once. You can do this by already having an item in your inventory, walking up to another item, and then spamming your item pickup button or key like this. Using this trick, I drop all the pieces off the side of the building here to get them closer to the crafting table. The hardest part was getting used to the distance required to drop the pieces down. There is a sweet spot I had to hit. Too far and the item won't drop. Too close and I might fall without all the items. Then I had to fall down without dying. It seemed random at first why sometimes I wouldn't survive the fall, but there's just a sweet spot here as well that I had to get used to. Then it was just a matter of building the trample steam 2 parts at a time. After that, the first buildable is complete. But don't worry, things will only go downhill from here. The second skip was the most difficult one to learn. I didn't mention this before, but I probably only had a total of 2 hours of playtime on Die Rise before this speedrun. I didn't play it much back in the day, and I've just never been a big fan of it. I was basically learning the map alongside these difficult skips. This skip has me jumping from here to there. I tried it during a few run attempts, but I couldn't even get close. I went into custom games and I enabled God mode and no clip. I went through lots of trial and error, and I mean lots. But eventually, I succeeded in doing the skip. I kept practicing it until I could get it consistently, and then I moved on to the third and final major skip of the run, the elevator skip. So for this skip, I have to jump down the elevator shaft and catch myself by mantling up to the floor. When I first saw this, I thought it was really cool, but it seemed difficult to pull off. There are 2 different entrances here. The one to aim for is the top one. It wasn't as hard as the previous skip, but it was still a bit precise. Too far from the edge, and I'm not close enough to mantle. Too close, I'd hit it at a weird angle and comically bounce around and then die from fall damage as well. There is also the crazy and wacky secret option where I somehow managed to mantle onto the bottom floor entrance, which kills the run anyway. Once I enter the correct floor, I run down, collect the handle sliquifier part that always spawns there, run back to the elevator shaft, and fall down to the bottom floor, where the sliquifier crafting table is located and the remaining parts can be found scattered nearby. Emphasis on the can be. What makes this speedrun annoying is that most parts can spawn in 2 different places on this map. So while you could master all the skips in the run, most runs will end with a dice roll, and that's exactly what I struggled with. The trample steam parts are also randomized between 2 spots, but they still spawn close together. It's not impossible to get them, unlike the parts for the sliquifier, where if you get bad RNG, the remaining sliquifier parts could be locked behind 2 or 3 different doors that would negate any time save, killing the run. I didn't often make it to the end of a run, but when I did, the parts just wouldn't spawn. I started to get really annoyed at this point and began to run into other problems. In the beginning of the run, when you're collecting the trample steam parts, this has the possibility of occurring. Some parts can clip into the ground and become unrecoverable, forcing a reset. This happened a few times in this spot here, but eventually I would learn to avoid it. I also learned that it happens here as well. I never knew that this could happen with parts, so it was new to me. This run was becoming more difficult than I originally thought. After a few more attempts though, I finally saw the end of a run. No thanks to RNG though. I ended up buying the doors to get the other parts. I did this for the sake of finally completing a run. This put me dead last. Nothing impressive, but it was something, I guess. The current world record holder comments on the run saying, "Don't try this at home, you will go mentally insane." And I should have listened. But I had more in me. I wasn't done just yet. Oh my. What? It's just one part, dude. Come on. A 2:14, which puts me at a solid 3rd place. And out of like 8-7 total runs, that's pretty good. I'm content with that. I'd say that it's a great run and one of the speedruns I'm most proud of. This run had tricks, skips, and RNG, which made placing in a top spot that much more satisfying. The current world record is a 139 by CDC. They used the double pistol points perma perk to build points faster and open the door earlier. I chose not to use the perma perk simply because it would have made attempts take even longer to do. Obviously, my run could use a lot of optimizing, but I think I'll leave it there for now. As much as I wish I could stay in Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3 calls for me. We still have another speedrun to cover. Black Ops 3 Zombies seems to have the most speedrun categories out of all the games, but they're all pretty normal, except the Round 15 speedrun on Shadows of Evil. There are actually 4 different Round 15 speedruns on Shadows of Evil, 3 of which depend on what gobblegum setup you're running, and overall, they're not exactly that weird. But there is one Round 15 Shadows of Evil speedrun that is reserved for the best of the best Black Ops Zombies players, and that is the Shadows of Evil Round 15 with Round Skip speedrun. If you didn't already know, on Shadows of Evil, you can skip up to round 15 by shooting the Shadow Man that appears near spawn. After you shoot him enough times, the round will go up by 5. You can keep shooting him to make your way up to round 15. This is pretty much the entire speedrun. You might think this speedrun category is a little silly, but let me explain why. Okay, no, yeah, this is pretty dumb. I know it sounds easy, but there really is some skill involved here. The competition is fierce, or at least it was 6 years ago. Everyone is basically within milliseconds of each other. I needed to figure out what it took to move up in the rankings within this category. Here are my findings. Okay, so basically you run up by the RK5 and keep shooting him until the run is complete. There, that's a speed run, which is what I did at first and got a 35-second run. That was only my first attempt and I already beat 3 people, putting me at 8th place. I did it again and tried a slightly different strat. Instead of reloading my RK5, I swapped to my Bloodhound because, as we all know,
switching to your pistol is always faster than reloading.
This brought my time down to a 34:40, which brought me up to 5th place. I did another run and got a 33:90, still 5th place, but a slightly better 5th place. After doing a couple of runs, I began to see how this run might be a little more complicated than it seems. You can't just spam shoot and have the rounds go up faster. You'll run out of ammo before you even get there. During the round change, a distinct sound effect plays. Shooting the Shadow Man while this plays does not seem to do anything. You have to wait until the end or near the end of the sound effect to begin shooting again, or else your bullets won't count towards the total amount needed to change the round. You can utilize this time to reload your gun early and not have to reload it later when you can shoot the Shadow Man. Optimization comes from how well you can manage your timing, reloads, and weapon swaps. I tried another run and improved it yet again by another frame or two, putting me at a 3370, extremely close to 4th place. I incorporated a slide on my way to the RK5 and this got me to a 3356, finally bringing me up a spot into 4th place, though I'm not entirely sure that the slide was the reasoning for this. I attempted a few more runs, but I just could not break into 3rd place, which is a 3354 by JK Game. I had to have been literally only a frame or two off. I even tried adding attachments to my RK5 because I forgot to do that, but I still could not improve my time further. There is definitely something off about my timing, but I could not figure out what it was. The world record currently stands at 3338 by Kings. They start off with the RK5 already in hand, which you get as a reward for completing all the Easter eggs on every map, something I have yet to do. Then they just shoot at the right time. We're all really just a few frames from each other, so it's crazy to be this close yet so far from the world record. Once again, I know it seems easy, but I encourage you all to give this speedrun a couple of attempts. Most of the runs are 6 years old and only 2 runs were set a year ago, which includes the world record. I think they can definitely be beat. Maybe one of you will hold the record next, and by the looks of it, you'd probably hold it for a long time. But that was the Shadows of Evil round 15 with a round skip speedrun, one of the weirdest runs in Black Ops 3 Zombies I've attempted so far. Before we go, I wanted to quickly talk about one last speedrun. In my How Fast Can You Touch Water in Every Zombies Map video, during the transit section, I couldn't really find any water, but I did find this outhouse, which contained the closest thing to water that I could find. The path I took was incredibly suboptimal, and thanks to some of the information left by viewers in the comments, I decided to do a new run and further optimize it. Here's a new and improved run. I start out by making sure I have enough points for the outhouse door and collect all the parts to build the turbine. This last zombie loves to attack me while I'm building the turbine, so I attempt to shoot at it while I'm bringing the parts over using the part swapping trick, but I wasn't able to kill it. I built the turbine and turned around just in time to knife the zombie. Now, I just had to get through the doors and run over to the lamppost. Placing down the turbine, I bring a denizen over and create a portal. As most of you probably already know, this portal teleports you to a random location, but there is a specific portal that takes you to the power station, which is where the outhouse is. This is where most of my runs would die due to teleporting to the wrong location. It can be hard to tell where the portal takes you due to the fog, but once I saw this tree between 2 bushes in the shape of you know what, I knew I was in the right spawn. I then turn and make my way to the power station. I get to the outhouse, open the door, and flush myself down, landing on top of a pile of and finishing the run in 1 minute and 12 seconds. Using these new strats, I improved the run by 2 whole minutes, from 3:14 to 1:12. I'm not sure what to call this run. I thought of toilet percent, maybe flush percent, and possibly even poop percent. I know, real mature, yeah. Anyways, I know that obviously isn't an official speedrun, but this speedrun has plenty of room for improvements and can definitely be beaten. So I leave that challenge up to you. Go for some attempts, optimize it further, beat my time, upload it to YouTube, and tag me in the title or description so I'm notified that you did it. I'd love to see what you can do, if you can even beat it. I tried to find as many weird or interesting speedruns as I could that weren't main Easter egg speedruns. I didn't even mention the Easter egg song speedruns, the Pack-a-Punch speedruns, or even the mini Easter egg and specialist weapon speedruns. There's even multiplayer categories of almost all the runs, some of which don't even have any records yet. Despite this, I feel as though there could still be more types of speedruns. While Door Percent and Peter Percent are perfect examples of speedruns that are very weird, I wish other COD games like Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 could adopt similar speedruns, which is why, just for fun, I created this unofficial toilet percent speedrun. I was inspired to make this video based on my experience speedrunning Minecraft. Minecraft has a huge speedrun community with lots of weird and miscellaneous speedruns. I know Call of Duty Zombies is a bit more limited in what you can do compared to Minecraft, but I definitely expected more spin-off categories. I'm just saying we should have more weird speedruns for all of us who aren't really into doing the main Easter egg runs. My My primary goal was to shed some light on those other kinds of speedruns and hopefully bring some more people into the community. I'm sure most of my records will be beaten or moved around shortly after this video because you little scamps would just love to do that. I submitted most of my runs for the leaderboards, but sometimes it take a while to appear, so they might not be up there if you're watching this video early. All links to websites, videos, channels, resources, runs, and music mentioned and used will be included in the description. If you liked what you watched, consider subscribing and expect more videos like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to stay weird.